I woke up to frost on my stuff and my sleeping bag all wet, which was not so great. I was going by a headlamp. I saw bunnies and deer. When the sun rose, I found myself in a beautiful cactus garden. I was in Saguaro National Park. Flowers were blooming among the cactus. Some ocotillo almost were blooming. So many saguaros. It is so beautiful here. I just can't believe it. And getting up at dawn, you get to see the crepuscular creatures. A lot of birds are chirping and flying around, and I saw lots of bunnies and deer. And oh my God, I just can't believe this. This is so gorgeous. I found a good spot to dry everything out. The climb leveled out for a while and then began in earnest. It was very steep, a brutal climb. I was joined by Cherry Pit, and we mostly walked in silence. I could barely breathe. The ranger checked our permits, not by looking at them, just by asking questions. When we reached Manning Camp, there was a cabin with a fire going and snow all around. We continued to climb the snow, and now we were joined by Blink, an Irishman.
That's pretty sweet.
Of course, the trees are in the way, but I want to get the snow in there too.
Is that the trail going straight ahead?
I think so. Come right down there and then go right down somewhere into there. We took turns leading on the descent through the snow. There was more snow than Miller Peak, but it was easier to walk in. Soon we were free of the snow. The whole experience seemed similar to San Jacinto on the PCT, except the descent was crazy steep. Similar movement through the biological zones, like the San Jacinto. Eight hours to climb up, more than that, and 2 hours to get back into the desert. Soon our trio sort of evaporated. Blink was looking for the perfect campsite with water nearby. Cherry Pit must have stopped somewhere behind us. I stopped to use a bush and then never saw Blink again. I ended up at what felt like the bottom, at a trailhead in the middle of nowhere. It's full of thorns and green things growing and cow pies and a guy named Overload, who I thought was Blink when I stopped. So on this trip I've been getting up really early in the dark and then hiking away from camp to find a stealth pooping site, and then after a while when the sun comes up, finding a good spot to sit and have breakfast and dry out my stuff. It was another frosty morning, but it's so much better to sit in the warm sun, eat your breakfast and dry out stuff and take off layers and repack your pack all nice and tight than it is to sit there laying in your wet, frosty, cold sleeping bag praying for the morning to come. Just get up and get the hell out of there is how I feel about it. Anyway, it looks like the next mountain coming up, Mount Lemon, has snow no worse than Mount Micah, which we did yesterday. So I think I'm not too worried, feeling pretty good about this trip and my progress. Around noon, I came to a highway that led to Tucson. A hiker was trying to hitchhike there. There was a trailhead parking and a car campground. I sat down by the outhouse and ate lunch, gathered my trash to throw out, and dried my things in the sun. Blink appeared, and as I sat there, he started complaining about the hills and other things. Maybe he isn't having any fun. I'm having fun. After lunch, I continued on. There was a long climb matching the highway, but then the trail turned into another canyon. Eventually, it made its way to another canyon and slowly descended to a large creek. As I raced not to lose the sun, I passed a smiley face drawn in the dirt. I saw a man next to a large tent. I assumed it was Cherry Pit. He draws the smiley faces. I wonder what makes a grown man do that. I met a similar man on the PCT once, an engineer, middle class, otherwise normal. Is that something they do because they're out here contemplating mortality? I thought back to the previous day coming down in the snow. I had exclaimed, "We are alive!" I know many of us out here are thinking about these things. Well, my phone still works. I fell into a stream, but it doesn't look like anything in my backpack got wet. And I was hoping to get to camp early enough to go in the water anyway. So hey, I saved a little time. So embarrassing, such a klutz. The canyon had lost the sun. I noticed little side trails and followed one to where I could see someone's tent and a campfire going. I tried 2 more until I found a campsite I liked. I made a clothesline for my wet clothes and changed into dry clothes. I'm happy that at the last minute I threw in some tights. They've been useful. Well, I didn't really get going until about a little after 6. I had a lot more things to do. First I had to collect all my things off the clothesline, and miraculously everything dried really well. My socks were just a little damp, but not too bad. My shoes were a little damp, not too bad, I can't even tell. And but that meant I had to switch all my layers around and put my regular clothes back on. And then I had to put away my pocket tarp, and I haven't even had breakfast yet. I woke up at 1 o'clock and I was so hungry. So I guess hiker hunger is starting. Sure is beautiful here. It reminds me a lot of Lost Valley or Red Rock, or a combination of the two. Lots of swimming holes and everything. I thought I'd seen Cherry Pit last night camped behind me, and I was worried that he might catch up to me and make me walk too fast like he did on Micah. Then I saw a happy face in the sand and realized that he was in front of me. Cherry Pit's in front of me. That means I don't have to rush. Last night I had a dream. I saw a dying baby bird in the trail. It was white with down and looked sort of like the dead rodent I took a picture of a few days ago. I picked up the bird and it felt warm and soft. I warmed it up with my hands. I kissed it. The bird turned green and became my 30-year-old parrot at home named Fergie. I worried Fergie was dead and Tony wasn't telling me, so I wouldn't worry and want to come home. When I reached a saddle, the trail became more of a social trail straight up the side, almost class 3 scrambling. I realized I was still pretty sore and tired from Micah. I hoped it wouldn't be too bad. It was really pretty hiking straight up this ridge. Eventually, I was among trees and interesting boulders. I was not carrying more water than I needed to drink, and I refilled as I went. I was almost out of food. My pack was light. Soon I crested something and the trail went down. It went down and up over little hills with sandy soil, small creeks, and big rounded sandstone boulders. It looked a lot like our backcountry. You had to follow cairns because the trail was very faint. It was really pretty and fun. I think I made it to the top. Oh my God, that was tough. No cheeseburgers for me. I'm a little disappointed by this town. Everything's closed except for this cookie place that I passed like a mile ago. So this is a town where you find a secret campsite, stealth campsite, and you don't spend any money here because everything's closed on Tuesday, and today's Tuesday.